Welcome back, everybody, to the HGC Eastern Clash. We have a very interesting tournament so far, and with me here now I have Gilly and Jayho. And guys, what is going on in the second game with all of the Korean teams so far?
Yeah, it's like game number one goes to plan for the Korean teams, and then either the other teams are like, oh, okay, we've got this figured out, they're not so scary, and then they show up second game. Or the alternative happens, and maybe the Korean teams just say like, we got this in the bag, we don't need to try as hard, and then really only CE, though, has been able to actually take that game number two, but it's always close.
I really feel like somehow, some way, Korea is just, they take it seriously, they let their foot off the gas just a little bit, and it just opens the door for one of the teams to just come in and just put the fear into them. I mean, we even saw L5 on that last one. They were afraid to take a team fight, thinking, we're going to give this up, and then we saw a couple picks, and it became a very competitive game.
Yeah, also on an individual level, at times we see Jonga active at the core, and then he's like, you know what? I think it's a great idea to jump right in front of the Dehaka. Let's see what happens.
You got to get value out of that level 16 talent.
I mean, they won the game, but it didn't look as dominant as we expected coming into the tournament. But as we said, they were still able to go through the winner bracket so far. And for the next series, we're actually looking at our lower bracket here already. So we're looking at CE now going up against the DeadlyKittens. And the big question, JL, can the Kittens take it?
It seems like they have all the tools to make it happen. You know, we saw certain battlegrounds that they were on at Midseason Brawl where they really had shined. We talked to them about they wanted to play more macro focused, but they put up a heck of a challenge against MVP Black at the start of the day. First game, they lost in 8 minutes. 7 minutes, 58 seconds. The second game was like a 33-minute game where it was highly competitive against MVP Black, looking like the team that we expected them to be after running the table during the SEA Regional.
Yeah, DeadlyKittens did seem like they got outdrafted in game number one, and that was a huge sore point for them, and it didn't really seem like they ever had that trouble at the regionals. They always got what they wanted. But game two, they came out with some dirty plays. They were doing so well versus MVP Black. I thought their drafting was incredible as well, even being able to recognize what pick was going to help them do okay in the solo lanes versus MVP Black, Rich's Malthael, which is not easy to deal with.
I'm definitely excited to see them in the next series. But before we head into that, let's take a closer look at their opponent. Let's take a closer look at CE and see what they have up for us. So with the lineup that we have here on the side for CE, we have to talk once again about them playing with another player, a substitute player, so they play with Shy now. But I have to say that, especially on the second map that they played earlier on against Tempest, they looked already a lot stronger, way more coordinated than we expected for a team that came into this tournament and said, we feel we're going to struggle, we don't have our best player with us, we don't know how the synergy is going to look like. Were you guys impressed by them? Did you guys think them to be this strong in their first series against Tempest? Or what are your expectations for the team in general?
Well, I think the nicest thing for CE is the fact that although Shy, yes, is a sub for them, they still are playing with somebody who is an HGC player. He plays for SOA. And KTY was already the new player, and I would argue the weakest, whereas the rest of the team has been playing together for a while. And they've got that synergy developed. I thought Paradise really showed up in their series, and that CE being able to take a game off of Tempest puts them as, I think, the advantaged team of the two here.
It definitely helps calm the nerves a little bit. Just taking one game, sometimes it's, you know, I used to play a lot of basketball. Go figure, I'm kind of a tall person. But they always say
I didn't notice. Thanks for pointing it out.
I know, I've got my stool all the way down. That way you don't look so short. But either way, it's like you got to see the first one go in, right? Once you get the first one go in, it just makes it far easier to just kind of get into that comfort level. I think sometimes taking that first map off a team, getting that comfort in, like, within yourself, it makes it a little bit easier because we saw some really aggressive plays. We talked about the familiarity potentially with Shy coming in there. There was a time on Dragonshire that he really pushed the pace forward, and it forced Tassadar to support him, it forced Ariel to come up and help, and it put their entire team out of position, and it seemed like they pulled the reins back a little bit going into the next few games, and I think that definitely helped them calm down just a little bit.
I'm personally really interested to see how they're going to fare now in the next series, since I already felt like that against the Koreans they were able to get stronger with each map, so I really want to see what now in the next series after they could use that as a learning experience, how much stronger they got. But of course, we're also talking about their opponent. And before we are talking more about the Deadly Kittens, let's just take a closer look at their team. So the Kittens looking really strong early on against MVP Black. On the first map, they basically got destroyed. It was a super short match, but then on the second, they absolutely showed up. 33 minutes or something on Tomb of the Spider Queen. That was incredibly impressive, and arguably, they should have won that series.
The series? Or?
Well, let's talk about the map first. They should have won that map. Maybe they could have made something up on the third one, but I guess we're going a little bit too far with that.
To quote Murr at Midseason Brawl, MVP Black got lucky, is what he said. But anyway, you've got Murr, you've got this team. They're very humble with where they're at. I had the pleasure of talking to them after Midseason Brawl, and then also I was actually in Singapore for the SEA qualifiers for here, and I actually met up. There was a large group of us. I got to eat with Zays and Murr for the second time. They're very humble. I congratulated them on a very good and strong performance. They dominated their competition. I said, this is one of the best I've seen you guys look, and he was critical. Both of them were critical of their own play, recognizing that they still had a lot to work on. I think that, to me, that humbleness that they keep is one of the key traits for their team, always willing to get better, despite the fact that they have continually dominated their region.
Yeah, after the mid-season brawl, they were pretty devastated, and they had a really rough time as a team. They ended up role swapping Murr and Stronger to allow Stronger to start shot calling for them, because they felt like they had a lot of trouble when things didn't go to plan. When they started to lose a couple of people here and there, they couldn't recover, and so they shifted Stronger over so that he could be the voice of reason, even when they start to lose people. And you could see that in this series, going 30-plus minutes with MVP Black. Honestly, the only reason that I'm not unbiased in this match is because I don't want either of these teams to go out. CE as really the best hope for China. We've seen both them in SBT now. And then Deadly Kittens, this is the strongest SEA as a region has ever looked at an event. This is a rough one.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. And with the potential that both these teams has, and especially the Deadly Kittens, it's going to be an exciting series. So we're going to take already a first look at our maps that we have from the teams and see which map is going to be first in the setup. So as you can see already, CE banning Warhead Junction straight away. And at the same time now, the Kittens banning out Battlefield of Eternity, with Dragonshire being our first map of the series.
Oh, Caldor. All right, so CE saw that Warhead Junction was the pick for Deadly Kittens against the MVP Black series. And then Deadly Kittens, when we talked to them during the interview, they said they were going to focus more on bigger battlegrounds, things that they can focus on their macro. They take BOE away, and then they pick up their favorite Gilly of Dragonshire, which we know they've shown on this map before.
Yeah, they had pure minutes on Dragonshire at the mid-season brawl of beautiful rotations. Their macro game there was so on point, and although they may not have ended up winning games there, they looked strongest on this battleground easily. We've got a Stitch's first ban. Deadly Kittens not allowing CE to be able to pick up Ariel. CE have already shown that if they get the opportunity, they love having that double support with Tass Ariel, and not wanting to deal with that, Deadly Kittens have to ban it, but it does open up CE to be able to get Genji.
The interesting thing now heading into the series is once again the attitude that the two teams have towards the game, because when we were casting the earlier series with CE, we talked a lot about how they approach the game now from more of a macro perspective, where they are saying, if we play a macro style and don't focus on team fights, it's more forgiving if we lose a hero. If we lose a team fight, there's an opportunity for our opponent to maybe even end the game, so we're more comfortable playing the macro game. But when they went up against Tempest, they focused heavily on team fights and looked really good doing that. But the Deadly Kittens are in a similar situation, where they actually told us the same idea behind their playstyle. We want to focus on macro. Now with Dragonshire, we have a map where you need a lot of coordination, but if we're looking at the first picks here, that's already a very aggressive start into the draft, not really caring about any of the global heroes that we are used to see here.
Yeah, Caldor, I was so surprised to hear CE say that, because I felt like CE were one of the best team fighting teams in all of China. Maybe only SPT better, but CE really was one of the only teams who could take SPT down in team fights. So I thought that was really interesting to hear that from them.
This is a change for me for Deadly Kittens in the fact that they're now looking at an Illidan pick, which will presumably be that solo laner, which we've seen a lot of adaptation to using that Illidan on Dragonshire. You know, we see it in multiple regions. They use it to push, and then post 10, that's their global. But it also gives you that twofold when you get Uther. So you can give Illidan that armor, you give him that added protection, the potential Divine Shield, but you also kind of have a counter for Genji to get that stun in. So I really like the early aggression from the draft for Deadly Kittens as CE gives the Illidan counter of Arthas.
Now, I really like the way that he is currently approaching this with the rotation here. We already saw the ban on Oriel. There was a chance, or would have been a chance, for the Deadly Kittens to limit that support pool even more if you don't pick up a support right away. And CE decides to go into Rhaegar, which synergizes very well with heavy frontline heroes. Arthas now also has someone that can help him out with the panic button using the Ancestral here. It's interesting still to see the Illidan on the spot. I think with the global that comes in later, they have a lot of flexibility. And we heard already Rich talk a lot about how he feels that Illidan is the hero to go when you're talking about a solo lane, that he personally doesn't even understand why Europe and the Western world in general still focuses this heavily on the Haka, that he feels in every situation Illidan is going to be the better choice.
Yeah, which is why we never saw Dahaka from MVP Black really in all of Phase 2. But in this case, Deadly Kittens know that the place in the draft that they are currently dominating is that solo lane. So they get their Illidan, they ban Dahaka. CE though, they have Arthas and Genji. Arthas is both CE and SPT's one of their top picks, so they feel very confident with getting that Arthas this early on to counter that Illidan.
Now, obviously, CE had to be watching some earlier. They banned Warhead. Now they're banning out Tyrael, which was one of the key components on Tomb of the Spider Queen. We saw Zaze play that hero to great effect, really put the pressure onto MVP Black. Plus, it gives, it takes away that added protection that you would have going in with the Sanctification, the potential Divine Shield for the Illidan. So you want to take that away. So, very good ban there, I think, on the side of CE. But Deadly Kittens, obviously, they got to start looking at their damage. They got to start looking at their front line. Anubarak's still on the board. But you kind of wonder, is that something you're willing to go into that full committal into that dive? They are.
Yeah, they're going for Anubarak now, and we've been talking about this composition in particular already a lot here today. Illidan and Anubarak as the duo that can really engage heavily into the backline of your opponent. Then in this case now with Tassadar also supported by 2 supports, so you really will have a damage dealer no matter which route you take. If you go into a Lunara, if you go into a Vala, if you decide to go for a mage instead and play around resets with Li Ming, you will have a setup where your range damage dealer has a lot of room to work with. And the 2 at the front line, Anubarak and Illidan, should be able to provide that space that you need.
Jayhao, you know the Deadly Kittens best. Do you think that they are they able to play a good Lunara there? Because the Lunara-Illidan combination in team fights is so difficult to deal with for a team.
It really feels to me like the Li Ming pickup was probably the best for CE, but it also took away something that we potentially would have seen from Deadly Kittens. And, we've seen NSJ on that hero. He's making a lot of plays, within his own region. And you could go into that kind of auto attack focus. The thing about Arthas is that he's got that built-in physical armor. So then you got to start looking at, well, what can really do well with the Tassadar other than the Illidan? But do you really need that? That's why I think the Li Ming pickup would have been good, but the Li Ming is obviously a really good counter to the Cocoon. But the fact that we're seeing the double support Brightwing Rhaegar, I really got to wonder where CE's wave clear early game is going to be outside of that Rhaegar Arthas, and whether Deadly Kittens might pick a hero here that can try and punish the potential lack of wave clear when we talk about dual lanes between that mid and bottom.
Yeah, I wonder who's going to be in the solo lane for CE, knowing what we know about the Illidan. But Vala's going to be the last pick for Deadly Kittens, so they have what we would consider to be the more standard. You've got the Vala Tassadar. It's not with Ariel, but they do have Uther, and Illidan for the solo, and then Warrior.
I have to admit that I absolutely love what CE is doing from a teamfight perspective, though. It's looking absolutely fantastic. The double support that they're running gives them so much control, especially with Brightwing being part of it. The polymorph against Illidan, having Arthas, so whenever he tries to jump in, Arthas is going to be immediately on him. And also the double resets that we have with Genji and with Li Ming. The tool against the Cocoon, I feel the setup that we are now seeing for them is absolutely fantastic if they can force these team fights. From a global perspective, of course, it becomes a little bit more tricky, since especially with Brightwing, you have a hard time if you have no one else on that lane you want to jump to. Illidan has no problem doing that once that he picks up the hunt, but it's a very aggressive setup on both sides, but I really feel Illidan is going to have a tough time heading into this.
Both teams talk about how they want to focus on macro. I think Deadly Kittens is actually going to do it a little bit more as we get our lower bracket game underway with Deadly Kittens taking on CE here in game number 1.
And over to the left side of Dragonshire, our first map, we have their opponent. It is CE, the Chinese team. Well, we're still having a closer look at the Kittens here. Our blue team with Arthurs, with Rega. They're rocking it with a double support here. Brightwing picked up Li Ming and also Genji for the double support.
Right away, what stands out to me, Caldor, Li Ming's feeling pretty good about the fact not having to worry about any of that mage damage, that spell damage. Feeling pretty confident, going into power hungry, looking to really put the pressure on, as they've already caught Innover out, who's going to get rooted, but he does have that dimensional shift, just walks away.
Yeah, and the Chinese team already with a very aggressive stance on the map, immediately invading the middle, trying to see if they can get a pick on the rotation up to the top. Also with the level 1, Rega going straight into the totem, trying to get that synergy with level 16 later on.
Well, this is going to be the thing that I want to focus on the most, is that we see 2 members of each team in the top lane. Tassadar's going to be a little bit more flexible because he has a little bit better wave clear than a lot of the people on CE. So it feels like they're going to have to put the pressure. And Tassadar...
Yeah, that was a close call. He was attacked up at the top, and we could see that hit point bar just falling, and Enovia barely getting out of this situation. That could have been the first kill.
It's a little bit surprising, and now they're using that to their advantage. You know, we've got Vala down in the bottom lane putting the pressure on, so it's almost like right now a lot of teams, we see them kind of sync up. They kind of are on the same rotation basis, but we see DeadlyKittens already taking a lot of that ammo out as Stronger coming in on the backside on the shot.
3 versus 3, and Rega going deep to try and help out Chai, but now Paradise comes within it, so trade as Rega falls, but so does Vala. The damage dealer gone, and we have Illidan joining the fun, which could be the end of Paradise, and it indeed is. Down he goes, Genji taken out.
It just seemed like DeadlyKittens was a little bit more on the same page, as they knew the rotations. They had the Anubarak coming down. Illidan was coming to support. They might have given up 1, but they had a nice 2-for-1 trade to kind of start this game. So DeadlyKittens, I feel kind of on the winning side so far here, just early in the game.
Yeah, but I like what CE did. We had Aloof Fool up at the top, pushing the wave out, and then even moving down, trying to interrupt the rotation from the mid to the top that was executed by Tassadar. So unmounting him and making sure that they're missing out on a few of the minion stacks, which now results in both of the teams having roughly the same experience again. But the Kittens are doing well so far. Vala, on the other hand, again in trouble, and Mia having a lot of problem keeping her alive.
And it is going to be something because of that consistency of the Genji that comes in the flank, and Innover caught out again. He's going to try and dimensional shift with the jukes, goes back in. He's like, look, normally I go to the right, but this time I got just enough time to hide in the bush.
Anubarak actually even went close to him, trying to help him out here in case that someone was attempting to dive in. But CE has now taken over slightly in experience. Both of the teams still fighting over the shrines here. And the rotations that we're seeing so far are actually quite strong. I especially like how the top lane is currently being run by Arthurs. He's doing a fantastic job here. And you can see how the ammunition on the towers are already drained. That combo with Aloof Fool on the right wing is very powerful against Illidan and Tassadar.
I'll tell you what, Caldor, because you've got that global up there, it's really hard to kind of shift the focus, make a 3 versus 2. I would love to see the minute Anubarak can ease some of the pressure in the middle, maybe go up, punish some of that over-aggression by CE that we see them pushing directly onto that wall. If they can get that combo and then chase down with the Illidan, we're going to see if they want to try and make that play. But up at the top right, we do see Zaze. That's one way to ease some pressure off the lane.
Yeah, he's trying to get the camp. The problem is going to be that this is also quite a... I mean, this is going to take quite some time for for Tassadar to make anything up at the top while Illidan takes the camp. So he's going to be pushed back. That allows Brightwing to jump back down. And if they now take the kill, or even just the temple, can maybe even get the Dragon Knight as a result. So Illidan's still busy on that camp, using a lot of time where he could be on the lane to help Tassadar claim that shrine at the top.
I mean, you're right. You definitely sacrifice just a little bit. Stronger is going to be in the bush there. He will deny Paradise there, but Alooful coming over, and Arthas trying to hold on to that top one. But it does look like Vala and team were able to retain the bottom. And now this is the time. Can you make that camp pickup that you gave up a little bit? Can you now get some value out of it?
They have to rotate more heroes top for sure. I actually expected Rega to make the rotation and Genji to stay in the middle just to use the lightning shield here. You don't have the lightning bond in this case, but now they are trying to get that shrine back, and they are losing out on the defense against that night camp. So the Kittens are actually getting a good amount of value out of it.
Again, you give up a little bit to gain a little bit more in the end, and that's one of the things they've been able to do. You know, in the mini-map, I continue to see that although Zuyu, under a little bit of pressure as Zaze and team, instead of making the rotation up, Caldor, maybe just make the rotation down.
Yeah, they could get the second kill, and they do a double kill for the Kittens. And to be honest, this in particular was quite a bit telegraphed. He was very far out on the map, considering that they don't have vision on the heroes. And now Wind is moving in as well, basically asking them to take him down too. But the stun of Stronger misses, and this time the turnaround attempt against the Nubarak. But once again, it's Uther stunning out Wind. But we have another attempt for the Dragon Knight by DK, and they get it.
I tell you what, as we are able to pan down eventually, I can't wait to see what Vala was doing in that bottom lane. Going to Vala versus Elite Ming, you keep that up. The ammo was already low. I guarantee you the next time we take a look at that lane, a lot of that damage is probably already put on, allowing DeadlyKittens to get some free damage here to get that push towards 10, and I think they're about to get that. Yeah, that bottom lane got wrecked by Vala.
Yeah, and they are moving in again against the level 10. They are flanking against the DeadlyKittens as they reach level 10. Not quite sure if that was really the best choice there. They were really hoping for the numeric advantage to carry that fight, but with Vala just simply getting a kill thanks to the Rain of Vengeance, that's all they needed. Now Li Ming has fallen as well, and this is just starting to snowball. CE wants the late game team fights, but they're not going to get it if they continue down this path.
Paradise going in, just no respect for the heroics on the side of DeadlyKittens. He's like, well, here's a hunt. I know you can't get out. And then Interfere's like, well, guess what? I've got something that can do quite a bit of damage as well.
Yeah, this is a bit weird how CE is playing this. They are, without any caution, engaging against an opponent that has heroic abilities, especially with someone that uses Illidan with the hunt that seems a bit suicidal. So they now just lost not only overall 6 heroes, they just lost 2 forts. They're 2.5 levels behind.
Oh no.
They also get another camp stolen away from them. They still don't have level 10, and they might lose another hero here.
They're not even willing to commit. They recognize, oh, wait a minute. Zaze is like, guys, I want to play. Come on, man.
He's like, team?
You just got to look around like, yeah, I guess we'll go back now. You know, I want to talk strategically about why that top fort is so advantageous. When you are able to expose that top lane, open it up, and Illidan's able to push with that hunt, it puts so much pressure on the top lane to where you have vision control. During the Shrine phase, you have that lane push so far that it allows you to keep an eye on everything. You don't have to worry as much, and that is such a strategical advantage as we get to the later game. Keep an eye on Zaze as we go.
Increasing the distance to safety when you're playing an Illidan composition is always great. He really thrives on chasing down opponents, and that's what you allow yourself if you take down the structures of your opponent and push them back up to the keep. But right now, CE, I mean, they are 2 levels behind, and to be absolutely honest, I think a lot of this could have been avoided. If your opponent grabs the objective on this map, you don't have to go in and win fights against, first of all, an opponent that has heroic talents already, but also sometimes has a numeric advantage over you. Just stay there, cut your losses, make sure that you get your own level 10, and then try to fight. Now that they have that 10, their opponent is already on 13, so we are talking about another talent advantage.
Zuyu. I mean, I don't even know what to say as we see Emerald Wind has gone out, but Divine Shield's going to be there as well. Lupul gets out of the cocoon, and Zuyu's just going to be chased down. You talked about that retreat to safety. Illidan's going to stay on there for as long as he can, and Shy is going to go down as well. Things falling apart here for CE.
Yeah, they absolutely do. The DeadlyKittens are getting kill after kill, and CE at times looks absolutely suicidal here. So, I mean, I'm sorry, but this is...
The Zuyu positioning in that middle lane, knowing you don't have a retreat point as a Rhaegar, where your mobility is severely diminished, that just... The positioning there surprises me so much.
We were praising them so much, judging from the series they played before against the Koreans, against Tempest, how they improved from game to game, and how you could really tell that they might be coming together as a unit even more in the future series. But right now, I really have to doubt all of it, since at this point the Kittens are just completely showing off, and that's not really the issue. The issue is more so that CE is making it easy. And Illidan is hunting Brightwing up at the top, so we could see another kill here. Has to drop the ult, and it's a 4-man that just starts to push onto the Bridge of Death.
I mean, that is one way to completely control the map, and DeadlyKittens, I think, might have got a little bit of impatience there, but, you know, if they had waited a little bit longer, but Zaze is like, guys, I just want to play, please come and play with me.
Well, Stronger apparently also wants to play. Okay, there's the rest of the team starting to move in. Now again, as we're talking about all of this, we have to put it in perspective once again. CE is not playing with the original team. They are currently playing with a substitute player from another Chinese HGC team, since one of their player could not get a visa. But it's still a little bit disappointing to see them fall apart like this, considering that against Tempest, they showed some great games and some really amazing team coordination in the fights.
Maybe it's just something about first game jitters. Yeah, now, right there we saw Murr start to pepper away at that wall, and I guarantee you Zaze is like, hey, wait a minute. I'm going to need an escape option at some point. Don't take my walls, buddy. But one thing that they can do is they can walk right up with that talent tier advantage in the 3-level lead and take the camp from CE.
That's always a really interesting discussion. Do you really need it as an escape point as Illidan? Personally, I actually prefer to deny vision to the opponent, but that discussion has been going on for a long while, and I don't think there's really a solution to it. It depends very much on the playstyle of the players, but I doubt that you will use a mid-wall for that necessarily. But look at this advantage, 16 versus 13 talents, a 3-level lead, 9 kills, additional ones for DeadlyKittens, and that talent lead alone is insane. The double storm, the frost shot, benediction. DeadlyKittens, they find themselves in such an amazing spot. Even if you get the coordination on the side of CE, you will have to wait so long until you finally have a shot to fight on even talents.
Paradise used that deflected. When we saw him go away, NSJ got that one last shot, and I was like, oh my, that would be a kill. Because you get that bonus damage after the vault, but unable to complete the kill there. But I tell you what, you've got a 3-level lead. Dragonshire, we know the Dragon Knight's been buffed a little bit, right? So it's in that area to where you have Illidan, you have the lane control, you try and get the picks, but at the same time, you interrupted the Emerald win.
Interrupt and then the stun. That was absolutely perfect. So Vala here immediately is setting up the Rain of Vengeance after Stronger interrupts the Emerald Wind, and that's the end of Brightwing. The Kittens are just roaming the map. They're controlling everything here. They painted red, taking camp after camp. Another Dragon Knight potentially for them now. And with the lead that they have, this is at least going to be a keep, and if they get kills, it could be more.
Kittens are on the prowl. Zaze is there. Paradise has already used his dash in. Look for him. He might try and be a little bit aggressive there. Instead, they're going to prioritize the Dragon Knight. Wait a minute. Innovator's like, wait, you guys are going to fight? All right, I'll play this time. But instead, I think they're prioritizing getting Illidan into the DK as opposed to Tassadar.
Yeah, so Illidan is now on the way. Gets the Dragon Knight, and they are starting to focus on the bot lane. Everybody already moving in. And again, we have to put this in perspective. It's a 3-level lead, a talent advantage, a Dragon Knight. CE hasn't taken a fort yet. With this, at least a keep should fall, and they are already focusing down the bottom. The Dragon Knight is in the middle right now, so they're attacking 2 lanes, trying to spread CE out thin.
Yeah, by exposing that middle keep, generally, if that wasn't open, you'd start to push in towards the bottom. Instead, they're able to make a double keep play. They have the talent tier advantage. They have that strength. They have everything about that. Instead, we're going to see CE try and take a fight here, Kaldor.
Cocoon used, immediately burned away, but Rhaegar is the first victim, and now they are focusing on Arthur's. Wind is low and might fall here, as Zaze wants to take him down. A Brightwing with the attempt to save him, but Arthur's also dying, and now the Kittens with a 5 versus 3 situation are just happily moving forward through the keep and to the core.
They've got Illidan on their, Illidan is going to be in the Dragon Knight, so if he wants to come out of that, look for him to dive directly onto the core. Instead, the shield's starting to fall as DeadlyKittens with a 3-4 level lead, putting the pressure onto CE to try and wrap up game number 1.
30 points on the core. The Kittens, deadly as they are, take it down and win game 1. CE defeated and crushed on Dragonshire. Not quite what we expected here, at least not in this fashion.
Yeah, that was a stomp, but it shows just how good DeadlyKittens are at 2 things. Number 1, Dragonshire, and number 2, their ability to combo off of each other, and when they make a call, they go for it, is so amazing to see from this team. The growth that they've had is stellar from the midseason brawl.
Let's talk about CE for a second. Jeha, what happened here? I've seen quick match combos that were more coordinated than this.
I talked about the draft, and it was a really weird, interesting approach. We kind of saw that two-man approach in the top lane from both teams, and it wasn't until they tried to get the pick repeatedly onto Tassadar. They weren't able to get it. But the minute DeadlyKittens like, look, let's break up the monotony a little bit. They sent a couple members to the middle. They got a few picks. It started to open up there, but that's when it seemed like CE things started to just spiral out of control because the positioning of their heroes are just like, well, I guess I'm here now. Do you guys want to fight? Oh, you have 10. And then they did it multiple times.
Yeah, I talked about it in the draft before. The traditional laning setup that DeadlyKittens drafted did put the onus on CE to be able to switch things up in the lane in a way that allowed them to succeed. But because Brightwing had to be babysat, people had to come up and assist her. Besides the couple of picks that DeadlyKittens or CE were able to get early on, DeadlyKittens were able to get such structural damage done that they had a level lead at 9. And then by that point, with the picks that they got, CE stepping out, as you mentioned, Caldor, around before they had level 10, DeadlyKittens got into a position where they could snowball the game.
With the combo that we had for CE, I really expected them to take a hit in the early game and try to just make sure that later on they get good team fights. But the decision making was... it really threw me off completely. They several times engaged against an opponent that had level 10 already and were not only accepting the fight, they were forcing it against even numbers, in one sentence, even against an opponent that had more heroes on the same lane. So I was a bit thrown off there, and I'm really curious to see if CE is, I don't know, getting their act together for the next game, because let's not forget, we are in the lower bracket right now.
Double support for me, especially when you go Brightwing, especially against the Illidan. It's like, look, we're drafting this as kind of the Illidan counter. That's why the Arthas was picked up. That's why the Brightwing was picked up. But then it fell into the territory of like, when do you ever take a team fight, right? At what point do you have that advantage? Brightwing consistently was forced to be the solo laner because of the way that they drafted and because of the way that Dragonshire plays out. So I think it made it incredibly difficult for them to try and take advantage of their draft, and it just seemed like they lost it in the draft a little bit.
Yeah, CE did seem a little anxious to make sure that they were pushing back their lanes because they could feel the pressure that they were already receiving early game. And it was DeadlyKittens who were able to recognize when they could punish and get picks from that to give them such a massive lead by the time they got to 10. And then from that point, the one spot where maybe it looked like CE would maybe have a chance to fight back, DeadlyKittens just played it very patiently, passively back until they were at level 13. They had that 2-level lead once again, 13 to 11. And then from there, ramped up the aggression again. It was beautifully played by DeadlyKittens. They deserved that first win.
Yeah, I really would like CE in situations where they see, okay, this does not go our way, just simply think, okay, what can we actually do there? Do we have to sit back a little bit, accept that we just lost the Dragon Knight, let them push us forward, but try to maybe protect the one at the top lane, gain our own level 10, and then start a fight? They seemed very anxious to make team fights happen and to go for that aggression, and the Kittens exploited that beautifully.